All right. Welcome back to an episode of Transparency and Merit. Tonight we've got Brian, and I'm Joe. And we got a few things to talk about. Why don't you go ahead and kick it off?
Well, I just wanted to basically, I've really kind of come to an impasse because I used to be a lot more angry when I was dealing with, this kind of cancel culture and this outrage culture. And I realized that why should I get so angry at people whom I consider to be fake? And it really kind of dawned on me when I was listening to someone has a YouTube channel of retro stuff, and it's usually retro stuff that's dealing with things that are significant within black culture. And they were talking about Colin Ferguson, the Long Island Railroad shooter. And I like to read the comments because sometimes I like to make comments myself. And one of the comments that was in the thread, and I've heard this a lot, like anytime there's a black killer or a black murderer, you will see in the comment section, they didn't take him to Burger King. Now, they're referring to the fact that Dylan Roof, when he was caught, the police took him to Burger King. I don't know exactly when they took him to Burger King, but it's, and I just felt that is so insignificant and so stupid that I just decided to say, well, why don't you give him a Whopper? As a matter of fact, I actually did a show on it. I forget the name of the show I did on that. Colin Ferguson. I called it Colin Ferguson Didn't Get Burger King. And before I would make really angry and upset comments with the people who were posting such stuff of buffoonery, and then I just, I kind of took a step back and I said, well, why don't you, go to where he's staying in prison, Colin Ferguson, the Long Island shooter. Why don't you go and, buy him a Whopper? Why don't you buy him a Whopper and fries? Maybe with an extra patty and some cheese on it. If you think that will help the wrong that you believe that Dylan Roof got when, because the police, when they arrested him, didn't take Colin Ferguson to Burger King. To me, it's now such a non-issue that I don't. Now I kind of laugh at it. It's so stupid to me and so ridiculous that you just have to kind of take him, take him to Burger King. Get him a Whopper. And then I called the Hake Show about that. He's one of Jesse Lee Peterson's. I guess you would say he's in his church, and at first was one of his followers. Now he has a show right after Jesse Lee Peterson called the Hake Report, and he also does stuff on Sundays. And I called his show today, and we had a fairly good conversation about that.
What did you guys talk about?
Well, we talked about the subject that I talked about, which was, that basically there are people out there that, and I have to say that the message board on Discord just keeps coming up
Mm.
Hopefully that'll stop it. I just pushed quit on Discord, and hopefully the notifications will not continue to go. But we talked about what is going on. Are you in Discord?
Go on. Come on, man.
I'm sorry. I just thought you were, because
Come
I was hearing
on.
an echo. But we talked about what I had just talked about, which was about people making comments about Colin Ferguson and how he didn't get to go to Burger King.
Uh-huh.
And that's such an absurd statement. And like I said before, I would get really upset, and I would call them name. I would just say, I would try to call them out. But now I just say, well, why don't you get him a burger? And I'm dealing with my anger that way, and just calling them out for being a fake. It does, to a degree at times, anger me how much power these fakes have with because there's so many SJW fakes that seem to be in control of a lot of social media companies, and they're basically censoring all the groups. I mean, anyone that catches on to some of these fake outrage mobs and calls them out, they've begun to really censor a lot of them, and it's kind of upset me. But then I kind of take a step back from it. Sometimes I would kind of rage to myself on how absurd some of them sounded, and how mainstream it kind of angers me on how mainstream the outrage mobs are. And that, like I said, when people, particularly YouTubers, began to call these people who were part of the mainstream outrage mob, when they started to call them out and mock them, they started to. That's when they began to censor, because they really didn't have any good arguments against them, and they really didn't. And I think they also knew that their arguments sounded silly. And one of the things I noticed when I was on the YouTube page of the Colin Ferguson argument, a lot of the people, I think they kind of began to realize how silly they were when they talk about Burger King. Mm-hmm. And I think I'm going to continue that approach when I go onto YouTube and I see comments that are that ridiculous and silly. I'm just going to say, like I said in the comment section, why don't you go, I think he's at Rikers Island, go there and take him a Whopper.
Yes. There, now you have a new approach.
Yeah, I do. And I think I think it's going to work. I've also I'm trying a little bit of fasting and eating less, and that's also a new approach to life as well. And you can't really be angry at these individuals. You just have to I guess, carry on and just realize that they're fakes. You can't kind of get mad at what they say, because I think that for the most part, they don't necessarily believe it, and it's all about ego. Uh-huh. When you say, "Oh, he didn't go to McDonald's," or "He didn't go to Burger King," that's such a childish thing to say. Inappropriate and childish. And the thing is, the powerful left kind of enables this, and that for me gets me more angry than the childish remarks of some of these individuals, is that they are enabled by very powerful people. And that still, to a degree, kind of angers me, but I'd almost want to talk to them. Why do you enable such powerful, such buffoonery, such stupidity, such stuff that's really not intelligent. Anyway, I think that's all I have to say on the subject. Joe, is there anything that you want to add?
No, I think we should continue on this path. Make sure you go to our website, transparencyandmerit.com, and you're also going to want to like and subscribe here on YouTube. I don't know. I think that's all we got, though.
Yeah, I think that's about all we got. And like I said, because we're going on YouTube, if you do listen to it, if you can like, and also leave a comment. If there's anything that that I say that you disagree with, or you have criticism of me, I'm basically still kind of new at this. And, sometimes I may him and haw and slip over my words and stuff. So, I still get nervous when I'm doing this, because I think, I'm still at that stage at times where I think I'm going to say things in my head, and pre-warm up. And then I get to the point when the show is being done and it all kind of falls through. But, as the one person said, perfection is the enemy of progress. And I'm still basically progressing. It's never going to be perfect. And sometimes there will be better shows than others. And really the deciding factor is those who listen to it outside of Joe and I. So that'll do it. Like, subscribe, and share if you do like it. I mean,
there you go.
All right.